Relations Director for One Jeb Bush. Gentlemen, good evening. And David, I'd like to begin with you. As our smart viewers already know, there are no cameras allowed in federal court. Lord knows no cameras allowed in the Supreme Court. Just the voices. We are able to hear the tapes in real time of the oral arguments. So here's what I have for you. This was oral argument today. Here is the lawyer for Arizona GOP getting questioned by Justice Barrett of the Supreme Court. And as you'll hear, he says the quiet part out loud.
What's the interest of the Arizona RNC here in keeping, say, the out-of-precinct ballot disqualification rules on the books?
Because it puts us at a competitive disadvantage relative to Democrats. Politics is a zero-sum game.
So, David, I guess we're saying voter suppression out loud now in front of the kids. If you've got a bad message, bad candidate, find a way to win by one, kind of like what Trump tried to do in Georgia. Is that how it works?
Well, unfortunately, Brian, it's the way it's working now, and I think it's going to work for many years. Yeah, give that lawyer an A for honesty, but an F for democracy. And listen, Joe Biden gave us some great news on vaccination timing today. We see cases going down all over the country. Obviously, governors of Texas and Mississippi are going to make our full recovery harder, but we're going to get through the pandemic. I think the biggest issue right now facing the country is these relentless assaults on democracy. So January 6th was an abomination that will live with this country through history. Trump's coup attempt was unsuccessful. But what we're seeing is all across the country, in dozens of states, dozens of laws on the books now, or they're trying to get passed, to make it harder to register, to vote. There's even states like Arizona where they want to give the state legislature the ability just to say if they don't like the election results, they can choose a different result. So this is a relentless assault. So I know before the election we said that democracy was on the line. And I think all that Trump's loss gave us, Brian, here was a reprieve, because this is going to be a systemic effort to try and rig elections, to steal elections, to basically take away the franchise from people, and to make the electorate as old and white as possible.
Tim Miller, that's a lot. You have written and spoken about what you see as two paths back for the Republican Party. Share them with our viewers, please.
Well, I think that the correct path back for the Republican Party of actually trying to expand their appeal to people of color, to college-educated voters, to people in the suburbs and in the urban areas. I think that ship has kind of sailed. It was the path that we were proposing back when I was at the RNC, when I was on the Jeb campaign. Obviously, the party rejected that. The voters rejected that. The path now that the Republicans have chosen is basically in line with what David had said. And I think that this is an important distinction because this is different than what has happened in the past. There always were efforts at voter suppression. I'm not going to pretend like this is a new thing, the good old days where there weren't voter suppression efforts. There were. But this is the first time in modern times that one of the major political parties has stated that they're not interested in winning a majority of the vote. The current Republican Party has decided that their path back is by maintaining power through the tyranny of the minority, by taking advantage of the fact that the Senate overweights towards smaller states and towards more white states and towards states with more working-class voters, and by winning narrow electoral college majorities, while losing the popular vote like they did in 2000 and 2016, and trying to quash the number of urban votes, black voters who can vote in the city, young voters who are trying to get registered. That is the path that the Republican Party has chosen. And as you saw right there, as you heard rather, they're saying it out loud in the Supreme Court. And so this is very different, from your father's voter suppression efforts.
Indeed, and if we're still teaching civics in schools, we had better be honest about it and bring it up to present day and real time. Both of these gentlemen have agreed to stay with us while we just fit in a break here. Just ahead, no mask, no problem. It's Texas, and the governor of Texas, he sure likes to stay on brand.
10:24.
When fire and water
water threaten your business, hand the cleanup over to the team that stays with you every step of the way in your journey back. 1-800-SERVPRO and ServPro.com, like it never even happened.
I think the sketchy website I bought this turtle from stole all my info. Ooh, have you looked on the bright side? Discover never holds you responsible for unauthorized purchases on your card. That's my turtle.
Fraud protection. Discover something brighter.
It's happening more often, and it's not surprising. People are seeking out new places, trying new things, and discovering the best part is often hidden in the journey, along the way. Find yourself in the Mazda CX-30. Want more power for your pursuits? Introducing the Mazda CX-30 Turbo with all-wheel drive.
Life is busy, and sometimes odors can sneak up on you. For a convenient life hack, try Febreze Unstoppable's Fabric Refresher. With 2 times the scent power of regular Febreze, Unstoppable's fabric finds, neutralizes, and eliminates tough odors trapped in hard-to-wash fabrics, like couches or smelly sports equipment, leaving an irresistibly fresh scent. And for a tropical burst of freshness, try new Paradise Scent. Stop sneaky odors from lingering in your home with Febreze Unstoppables.
If you have moderate to severe psoriasis or psoriatic arthritis, little things can become your big moment. That's why there's Otezla. Otezla is not an injection or a cream. It's a pill that treats differently. For psoriasis, 75% clearer skin is achievable with reduced redness, thickness, and scaliness of plaques. For psoriatic arthritis, Otezla is proven to reduce joint swelling, tenderness, and pain. And the Otezla prescribing information has no requirement for routine lab monitoring. Don't use if you're allergic to Otezla. It may cause severe diarrhea, nausea, or vomiting. Otezla is associated with an increased risk of depression. Tell your doctor if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts, or if these feelings develop. Some people taking Otezla reported weight loss. Your doctor should monitor your weight and may stop treatment. Upper respiratory tract infection and headache may occur. Tell your doctor about your medicines and if you're pregnant or planning to be. Otezla. Show more of you.
As a moving picture, it's more than good. I'm at a loss to even express.
It's the best thing he's ever done.
Long night, a short one. Plagued by spirits. Who was that again? Just a writer. If the performances were any better, you'd be ashamed of yourself. That's why I always want Mank around.
Me too.
Well, that, my friend, is the magic of the movie. Mank, rated R.
This year, one woman dared us, one movie awakened us, and now Emerald Fennell's Promising Young Woman is being hailed as the best picture of the year.
What are you doing?
The New York Times raves it lands like a lightning strike.
What's my name? Sorry, maybe that one's too hard.
It's seductive, bruising, and utterly intoxicating. Now nominated for 6 Critics' Choice Awards, including Best Actress Carey Mulligan and the Best Picture of the Year. Promising Young Woman, rated R.
COVID has not, suddenly disappeared, but it is clear from the recoveries, from the vaccinations, from the reduced hospitalizations, and from the safe practices that Texans are using, that state mandates are no longer needed.
We've identified the truth in there, and that is that COVID has not disappeared in Texas. There were indeed another 6,000 new cases reported there just today that we know of. According to the New York Times, the state's been averaging over 200 reported deaths a day over the past week. Yet, like the red state of Mississippi, Texas is rolling back its COVID restrictions despite fears that they may be staring at a 4th wave. No mask, no problem. Remaining with us tonight, David Plouffe and Tim Miller. And Tim, I want to read this to you from a potential gubernatorial candidate in Texas, Mr. O'Rourke. He calls today's announcement a death warrant for Texans. Add them to the 44,000 plus he killed as he failed to confront the pandemic, botched the vaccine rollout, and those who froze to death because he cares more about energy companies' profits than keeping Texans alive. Abbott is killing the people of Texas. Let's put Beto O'Rourke down as unambiguous, but Tim, this fits into This is Abbott and DeSantis and Nome using that weird up is down, down is up, reverse 4 years ago psychology of bragging on what they haven't done to protect their people.
Yeah, look, what Greg Abbott did today was deeply misguided, and it's all for show, and it's all for the politics. Brian, I think you gave the two key names there of DeSantis and No. He looked at what happened at CPAC last weekend and saw that the stars of the show were the two people that were the most unwilling to deal with the reality of COVID, the most willing to give people fanciful happy talk about the election being stolen and about COVID not being a big deal. That was DeSantis and Nome. They are the two, people who I think are on Trump's heels if Trump decides to step away or if the legal bug catches him. I will give this one caution to Democrats, though. I don't think that the Democrats right now can let the Republicans be the party of saying we're going to open up the economy. Because as David said, Joe Biden announced today that the vaccines are coming and that we're going to have them by May, which is way ahead of schedule. And I get a little bit worried when everything I hear about from the Democrats is always chicken little about what's happening, when we've got all this great news coming. So yes, Greg Abbott is an idiot. But at the same time, I think that the Democrats need to be mindful of how their messaging on this sometimes looks.
I'm putting Tim down in the unambiguous category. Hey, David, I have a quote for you along the lines of the argument Tim just made. A senior administration health official told Politico, White House believed the Texas and Mississippi announcements posted on Twitter within 30 minutes of each other were a coordinated effort by Republican governors that had expected to see similar announcements in the coming days. And here's where all of this boxes in the Biden White House. They're Democrats, so they're culturally predisposed to be careful and keep people safe. Trump used to talk about our states. He was talking to his base. He meant the red ones. Joe Biden actually has that kind of that protective role over all 50 and the territories. He spoke about them today. This does make a problem for the new president.
Well, because he's concerned about people's lives and our economy. I think Tim makes a good point, but the message here with every adult, with there being enough vaccinations for every adult by the end of the May, we're just talking about a few weeks. And I think that's got to be the message in Texas. Now, the truth is, a lot of citizens in Texas, in Mississippi, if there's other states, they're going to continue to act responsibly cautious. But these states don't have walls around them. So obviously there's going to be acute pain is better or worse said in Texas because of this decision. But this is going to potentially lengthen the entire pandemic for all of us. And this is where data comes in. The Biden administration is very transparent, good and bad, about the coronavirus and what's happening out there. So if we see cases spiking in these states that go to 100% restaurant capacity, even though there's no mandate, I think the message is you don't have to wear masks anymore. That's going to be known to everybody, the cause of this. But yeah, I think Biden looks at this, not red states versus blue states, but how do we make sure we continue to bend the curve here so that we save lives, but so we can get the economy fully open, get schools fully open everywhere in the country. And that's what's your response about this. I think it's not a, never versus now. The question is, let's just wait a few weeks. We are on such a good path here with vaccinations, with cases going down. But when you open up, and Texas is a major state, you've got major airports. I think I heard it recently, Houston's the only major city in the country with all 5 variants in there. And so if you open these states way up, it's not just going to cause problems there, but it's going to cause problems for the rest of us. I live in California, all throughout the country.
Yeah, indeed. It's not Vegas. What happens in Texas doesn't stay there. Our thanks to both gentlemen. David Plouffe, who has, we note, traded the Delaware banner for the outline of the Golden State. Tim Miller, who has traded his man bun for free-flowing locks. You'll both be hearing from Leslie Jones, gentlemen. We can't appreciate your time anymore around here. Great having you on. Coming up, the growing calls for something to happen in the New York State Capitol involving this man. Will he last in that job?
New projects means new project managers. You need to hire.
I mean, Indeed.
Indeed you do. The moment you sponsor a job on Indeed, you get a short list of quality candidates from our resume database. Claim your $75 credit when you post your first job at Indeed.com/home.
I was intimidated, you know what I'm saying? No one teaches you that world of finance.
Robinhood showed me that my money can work for me. It's just all right there on your phone and it's easy and clear. It's given us the power, the tools, the knowledge that we need.
I have moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, and now there's Skyrizi. 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months after just 2 doses.
Skyrizi may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms, such as fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or coughs, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Now is the time to ask your dermatologist about Skyrizi.
Wealth is breaking ground on your biggest project yet. Worth is giving the people who build it a solid foundation. Wealth is shutting down the office for Mike's retirement party. Worth is giving the employee who spent half his life with you the party of a lifetime. Wealth is watching your business grow. Worth is watching your employees grow with it. Principal, for all it's worth.
Why spend all your money on just one part at the typical auto parts store, when at rockauto.com you can get all the parts you need with money left over to buy lunch? Go to rockauto.com.
All the parts your car need, Rock Auto.
Guy Fieri, you know, if you want to make that sandwich the real deal, you gotta focus on the bread layers. King's Hawaiian sliced bread makes everything better.
Honey, why is Guy Fieri in our kitchen?
I don't know. I'm booking you a one-way ticket to Flavor Town with a King's Hawaiian meatball sub. I gotta go. Your neighbor needs King's Hawaiian bread.
Everything's better between King's Hawaiian bread.
Hey, I got you.
Guy Fieri.
To be honest, a little dust, it never bothered me. Until I found out what it actually was. Dust. Rain droppings? Dead skin cells? Gross. So now, I grab my super heavy-duty sweeper and duster. Dusters extends to 6 feet to reach way up high to grab, trap, and lock away gross dust. Nice. For dust on my floors, I switch to sweeper. The heavy-duty claws reach deep in grooves to grab, trap, and lock dust bunnies no matter where they hide. No more heebie-jeebies. Glad I stopped cleaning and started swippering.
What happens to your body language when your underarms are cared for? It shows. Our new Dove Advanced Care Formula is effective and kind to skin, leaving underarms cared for and you more confident and carefree.
These allegations are very serious against Governor Cuomo, made by serious individuals, and deserve a serious and independent investigation. Now that the Attorney General has taken over the investigation, it will be fully independent and thorough, and I await the results of that investigation.
I still think myself in the gentleman's
The scope of the investigation into sexual harassment allegations against New York Governor Andrew Cuomo may be far broader than first anticipated. Indeed, the New York Times reporting the team, which will be hired by Letitia James, the New York State Attorney General, will have far-reaching subpoena powers to request troves of documents and compel witnesses, including the governor, to testify under oath. Last night, the Times reported a 33-year-old woman accused Cuomo of an unwanted advance at a 2019 wedding. There are indeed photos of the encounter. It came after 2 of the governor's former aides accused him of sexual harassment last week. On Sunday, Cuomo denied he ever inappropriately touched or propositioned anyone. Here to talk about it with us tonight, we welcome to the broadcast Jesse McKinley. He is Albany bureau chief for the New York Times, and these days, if you want to find his byline, look out front page of the paper edition, top of the New York Times website, for good reason. Jesse, let's make clear to our viewers who may not follow New York State politics, this is the second of 2 crises for a guy who long ago was pasted with the overreach label. After all those press conferences, after winning a special Emmy during the COVID crisis, after writing a book about his expert handling of the COVID crisis, which continues. Oh, by the way, we learn upwards of 11,000 seniors died in New York State nursing homes.
That's all true.
you said overreach, you might say overexposed. I mean, the governor was really everywhere over the last year, and his poll ratings reflected that. You know, for a brief time, he touched in the mid-70s, nearly 80 in this state. He was insanely popular. He was considered, you know, kind of a must-see TV pretty much every day with his press conferences. He was active on cable news networks such as this one. And in the last 6 to 8 weeks, he has had a terrible fall from grace as a result of what you said, the nursing home scandal, and now the sexual harassment allegations, which are in triplicate. You know, last week was a former aide saying that he had kissed her in his office. We reported on Saturday of a 25-year-old woman who believed she had been propositioned by the governor. And then yesterday, myself and Matt Flagenheimer reported on that wedding incident. So in toto, it has been a very, very tough couple of months for the governor, and he is facing some pretty serious repercussions at this moment.
You indeed write this. Cuomo's outside presence in state politics seems to be cutting both ways in his current political crisis. Many privately express spite toward him, but few in his party have dared to take him on. That's a very nice, polite way of saying he doesn't have a lot of friends. It's better to have friends when you get in trouble like the trouble he's in now. When do we know if he survives this or not?
Well, I think these things, you know, there tends to be kind of a fake velocity to these news events where you think things are going to happen very fast, and some things happen very fast. But in fact, these things can unroll somewhat slowly. I think the governor himself is probably playing for time. I think that, you know, this investigation launched by Tish James could take weeks, it could take months, it could take till the end of the year. And I think for Governor Cuomo, that's just fine by him, so long as there's no other allegations that come out anytime soon. Now, that being said, at the same time, enemies are accumulating for Governor Cuomo. More and more Democrats inside of his own party are saying he has to go, including, you know, Kathleen Rice, the Congresswoman